You guys ever wonder how one of these things works? Well, I'm going to give you a quick and dirty description of it. There's a gentleman that runs a YouTube channel by the name of Technology Connections, and we'll give you the connection to that there. That will actually explain it in detail and why this cheesy 20-year-old $20 coffee maker is actually the penultimate way to make coffee. But why are we talking about that? Well, we're talking about coffee makers because Bruno came up with this model 1907 Italian Army / Italian Wehrmacht coffee grinder gizmo thingy, and it was nasty. We've blued it, we took it down and got all there was enough caffeine in this thing that it was making me talk very, very quickly when I was talking anyway. And we got it all fixed up. We had to make a new tensioning screw for it. And we got it to work. So this thing is designed, it's a field kitchen kind of deal. And it goes down in here like that. And then this little clippy dippy comes up here and grabs it. Hang on a minute. And we got it to work. So the way this thing works is you take some coffee and you dump it in here. Of course, I'm making a complete mess, but that's fine. You put some coffee in there. And we were guessing that the way this thing sits when it stows, you could actually keep a load of coffee down on the bottom of it. But there's a grinding action on this. There's a set of discs in here, and that thing that we made, that's how close it is. And through a little bit of experimentation. Oh, Rio. And right now, instead of smelling like gluing chemicals and oils and goops and mixtures and stock finish, the inside of the shop now smells like caffeine. Glorious caffeine. Am I almost there? I'm almost there. So through experimentation, we have figured out that, well, that's not enough coffee. We'll keep going. So this coffee grinder, model 1907, but it went with a lot of military kitchens in the Italian and later in World War II, the Italian and German armies. And they would sit here and grind their own coffee. Oh, almost there. So once you picked a couple of unground beans out of it, because I had dumped a few beans in it, you can grind this coffee up, and the aroma of this stuff is insane. We're gonna open here, and we're just dump our coffee in here, and then we're gonna talk about how this coffee maker actually works. There is cold coffee in here, and damn few moving parts. So what I want you to imagine is a pipe with a heater wound around it, with a ball check valve in it. You can hear something rattling in one of these things when you're there. You turn this heater on, and the heater heats the water all the way up until it flashes into steam. And then when it flashes into steam, it drives that ball back against its seat and shoves all the water up and through little gizmo here. The steam bubble collapses, the ball comes in, more cold water, heats it back up. So you get this bloop, bloop, okay? A percolator works the same way. Then when it runs out of cold water, it will warm up enough that a Clix-On will open, throttle the heater back to about 160 degrees, and it'll just sit there. Watch the Technology Connections demonstration of this. It's absolutely perfect. You will probably notice that it will work dramatically better when I pour the water in it. Bruno is wildly gesticulating at me. We pour this in though, and I know you're looking at the back of my shoulder. Okay. And what we'll begin to see is you'll hear the ball clicking. Tick, 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 tick. Here, let's see if we can pick up some ball click here. There it goes. You can hear it. You hear that choom, right? So it's kicking that up, kicking the water up through the grounds that we've ground on this probably, oh dear God, 100-year-old coffee maker, grinder. And it grinds, and it's a very simple machine. And to me, how the thermodynamics of stuff like this works goes back to when I was in the Navy. In the mid 80s, we were getting our coffee on the submarine in these olive drab civil defense with the triangle on it cans. And during a stores load, you have to load every last can of food into a submarine, one can at a time. So there's this line coming down off the pier, down the brow, to the forward escape trunk, 3 guys in the forward escape trunk, and then there's a cook, mess specialist, whatever you want to call them. And submariners do not talk down about their cooks. Don't worry about it. We had really good guys. And there's a guy down there telling you whether or not that can goes forward or goes aft. So the coffee comes down, it's going aft, through the tunnel, around the reactor, back into the engine room, and to the only place on a round ship where you can store rectangular stuff, which was underneath the main engines. And there's a huge box girder, and the main engines are mounted on sound mounts underneath this box girder. And right in the middle of this box girder, there's this big rubber boot that connects the engine to the condenser. And these caverns are just lined with these olive drab cans of 25-year-old coffee at that time. And there the coffee sits for 2, maybe 2.5 months. All right. The very first electrical load ever energized on USS Key West was a Bunn automatic coffee maker that was energized off the starboard vital bus before the ship was even launched. My captain, my first captain, Captain Lipscomb, spent $1,400 out of his own pocket in 1985 money to buy us an epic coffee maker. Epic. And this thing was screwed to the boat, wired into the starboard vital bus, and hard piped into the potable water supply of the ship. Coffee. Coffee. I mean coffee, right? Okay, here, and I mean, this thing had rough weather straps. There were 3 pots on it. Rough weather straps that you could strap the pots down so in rough weather the coffee wouldn't spill. Oh dear God. Here's the problem when you're underway. There's a Navy tradition that states that the off-going 18 to 24 watch will make a pot of coffee for the oncoming Balsa 6. Okay, I don't know how they have the watches divvied up on a surface ship, but we were straight up 6 hours. 18 to 24, Balsa 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, 18 to 24. So you're always waking up to a different meal, right? Los Angeles class submarine is the only class of submarine I think ever built. I'm sure a German Type 9 U-boat had a head in the engine room. We did not. So you can't drink coffee right away on the back watch, because in order to take a piss, you got to wake somebody up. And you're going to be on the receiving end of that tomorrow night, so you don't ever want to do it. We had dry bilges in a 688. So yeah, you could whiz in a funnel. It was highly frowned upon. But the thing is, if you're going to drag somebody back there from up forward at 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, just go forward and go take a piss and come on back, right? Okay. So here we are. We're at 3:30 in the morning. Nobody's drank the coffee yet. And everybody's in the wall. Okay, you're hitting the wall. Because while we're on an 18-hour shift, the skipper, the XO, and the navigator are on a 24-hour shift, because the sun comes up and goes down on a 24-hour clock. So you have to do the things you want to do and not get seen doing at night or during the day. I don't know how that all worked, but I know that we were going to be running drills at 6:15 in the morning. We're going to be running a drill set. It's just part of the cruelties of going out to sea. So by about 3 o'clock in the morning, you're like, okay, I don't care. I can hold it from here on out. I don't have to wake anybody up. And then you just ring it around the clock. You get the auxiliary electrician app. Auxiliary electrician app, electrical operator, bring the coffee. All right. So you can't just reach into maneuvering or talk to anybody in maneuvering. Maneuvering was, they call it the enclosed operating space on a surface. You can't just walk in here. It's kind of a sterile cockpit environment. You've got the throttleman, the reactor operator, the electrical operator, and the engineering officer to watch. So AE walks up, request permission to enter maneuvering and dispense coffee. Okay, they'll let the officer, the watch will say, you enter maneuvering. The guy will come in and you hold up a cup that's got 2 packets of Swiss Miss in it with the marshmallows. Because this coffee that's been sitting for 25 years in a warehouse, 2 months underneath a couple of 40,000 horsepower turbines, and for the last 5 hours on the burners back there in a coffee goes in your cup like soft serve. It does this. It goes in your cup like this. It's more ooze than anything else. And yeah, it turns gray. And you stir it with a spoon and you pull back out a nub because the end of the spoon is missing. All right. But it tastes good. It gets you out of the barrier, right? Okay, so now oncoming watch gets woke up about 5:15. They're in a chow line. 20 after, they're eating. 25 after, usually the first guy will come aft, request permission to enter maneuvering and relieve the electrical operator. Petty Officer Novak, how was the mid-watch? Great! Okay, so that's kind of where we're at with that. That's coffee. In the meantime, most of our coffee has been made, and unlike the coffee on the boat, this has not been 25 years in a civil defense can, has not been underneath the main engines, and has not been sitting on a burner for 3 hours. And I'm going to tell you what, nectar of the gods, just saying.